Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. My name is Bliss Foster. Okay, we need to talk about the first couture show from Pyer Moss. In the short while since this presentation showed, there's been a number of people scattered around the internet who have said stuff that's akin to, this is awful, this is not what couture is meant to be. And here today, I want to back up and talk about this a little bit because I think it'd be easy to look at this show in a short-sighted way and then end up being on the wrong side of history. I have seen a lot of people online going around saying that this is a mockery of haute couture. How could they submit something like this? And I think those people are being silly. The presentation began with a very powerful speech from the writer, activist, and former chair of the Black Panther Party, Elaine Brown. She emerged and gives us some poignant starting words.
All power to the people. Wait a minute, all power to the people. Y'all not serious, all power to the people. So now that we've said that, where do we go from here?
I'm gonna repeat Elaine's words because if I was watching, I would have missed it. Power to the people, now where do we go from here? That's the thesis. I'm going to give a little bit of context here for those who haven't seen the new show and haven't kept up with Pyer Moss's really excellent work. The brand is led by Kerby Jean-Raymond. They've been active since the spring 2016 season. Kerby described Pyer Moss to CNN in 2019 as, quote, an art project that operates in the fashion space, end quote. The brand has done good work that expands the medium of fashion art, pushing it outwards. A while back, Pyer Moss showed their first collection as part of Couture Fashion Week in Paris. This collection put a big emphasis on the inventions of Black designers that were very literally interpreted into wearable art. Among them was the Super Soaker, hair curlers, the 3-color traffic light, the Gamma electric cell phone, among tons of others. This collection was housed within the typical grand, excellently executed performance art that Pyer Moss has become famous for. With this show, Kerby Jean-Raymond became the first Black American to show during Couture Fashion Week. Here's why that's important. Haute couture is the single most gate-kept sector of the fashion industry. The title of haute couture gets misused a lot, so we're going to go ahead and clarify what that means. Today, haute couture members are selected by the Chambre syndicale de la haute couture. To qualify as an official haute couture house, members must design made-to-order clothes for private clients with more than one fitting using an atelier workshop that employs at least 15 full-time staff. They must also have 20 full-time technical workers in one of their workshops. Finally, haute couture houses must present a collection of no less than 50 original designs, both day and evening garments, to the public every season in January and July. Quick point of clarification, that number of 50 has been relaxed to 25, which is why Pyer Moss was able to show the number of looks that they showed. This is very common. Many houses do 25 looks. Here's what we needed to talk about. There's a weird phenomena in art that is respectability politics' cousin. It seems like we have to learn this lesson every few years and then we forget it and have to relearn it again. This is when people gatekeep art by saying that a specific artist's work doesn't measure up to a high enough standard to be considered real art. The early Impressionists were excluded from salons in Paris because their technique wasn't good enough and because their subjects were too banal. Do you know what subjects they were talking about when they said that they were being too banal? Ordinary people, the poor, actual real life stuff. The Impressionists were being accused of not painting aspirational enough subjects. Does it feel kind of ridiculous to think about an art dealer talking to Monet or to Renoir and saying, you're just not painting the right stuff, you know? It should. That is ridiculous. And that's also not how art works. The only way that art can move forward is by breaking rules and thwarting expectations. I mean, I defy you to tell me about a major art movement that didn't involve these pearl-clutching accusations of it being too banal or scandalous somehow, or somehow being not good enough. Whatever not good enough is even supposed to mean. I'm reminded of a section from James Baldwin's essay, Stranger in the Village, where he says, quote, they regard me, quite rightly, not only as a stranger in the village, but as a suspect latecomer, bearing no credentials to everything they have, however unconsciously inherited. And to those who are making the accusation that this is somehow a mockery of haute couture and that this is too silly and blah, 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 I would then ask you why those same accusations are not being leveled against Victor and Rolf, Daniel Roseberry's Schiaparelli, I mean, Margiela, for goodness sake. The system of haute couture is so self-seriously stoic. It's had designers for decades making heavy use of camp or just outright making fun of it. It is a gatekeepy system that's begging to either be poked fun at or to adopt a truly anything goes type of stance from the designers that participate. I mean, can you imagine if there was some kind of equivalent of haute couture for music? That would be insane. Musical artists would be coming in and just trying to meet the requirements so that they could make a mockery of it. I just don't think that there is a place in the modern world for some kind of grand council that's going to sit there and tell you whether or not your art is enough. We have 7 billion people on Earth that are perfectly capable of making that judgment call on their own. And okay, speaking of haute couture as a system, there's another criticism of Kerby's show that needs to be addressed here. A number of people leveled the accusation that many of these pieces look more akin to stage play costumes, or that they generally look unfinished. Okay, so let's back up. Haute couture enjoyed a massive base of clients, people who were actually willing to come and buy these dresses since the system was essentially created by the House of Worth in the mid-19th century. Tens of thousands of people worldwide would come to these couturiers and actually purchase the dresses. High-level couturiers made massively expensive, elaborate dresses for royals and the wealthy all over the world. And then sometime around the beginning to the middle of the 20th century, that client base started shrinking substantially. Couturiers were closing or barely holding on to business as ready-to-wear clothing took over the industry. In the 80s and 90s, haute couture changed radically when Bernard Arnault started acquiring brands for his fashion conglomerate, LVMH. He, rather boldly, declared that the brands he owned would still show for haute couture, and he didn't care if they lost money doing so. Bernard Arnault considered this to be part of their advertising budget. They would make up for the cost of those shows easily in the sale of perfume and small leather goods. That's where the idea of luxury comes in. People are able to buy a small piece of what they see in magazines. The modern world of haute couture is built on the idea that you should be spending and losing gobs of money for the sake of the arts, when really this is just a tool to make money on high profit margin goods. This system, maybe intentionally, maybe not, has been used as a gatekeeping tool to keep out independent designers, which Pyer Moss certainly is. In order to lose money on a couture show, you have to either be part of a conglomerate like LVMH or Kering, or you have to have struck gold with the, I'm not joking, 2,000 couture clients that are left. There's literally, we know who they are. There's about 2,000 ladies in the world that actually go and buy these dresses. Those clients, by the way, are not like you and me where they're out here looking for cool new stuff. They are exclusively spending their money with established household name couturiers like Chanel and Dior and Versace. There is no way for an indie brand like Pyer Moss to participate in couture without losing an enormous amount of money. So yes, I mean, unlike Dior, who can just lose infinite amounts of money on whatever they show at Couture Week, there are indie brands out there that are having to make do with what they have and put something out. That's why we go to independent artists in the first place. It's to see if they can come up with something revolutionary on a limited budget. You don't go to an indie theater for a premiere expecting to see the new Marvel movie. Fashion, like every other art form, needs rule breakers and people who are going to do things that shock us and make us uncomfortable. Designers who are going to speak truth to power and say this gatekeepy system that has only just now allowed Black designers to participate is silly. King Kerby is opening the door up so that other people of color can come in and continue to evolve what haute couture actually is. Do whatever you want. I strongly encourage you to not dismiss this stuff out of hand. We are about to see a revolution in fashion start to blossom from the foundation that is being laid here. To bring it back to Miss Elaine Brown, power to the people. Now where do we go from here? Folks, go join that Patreon. This channel can only exist if there is solid financial support from the people that love content like this. You're all awesome. I want to hear what you think. Comment down below. Go follow me on Instagram. Love you, mean it, bye.